All right, y'all. Today we have national treasure Jon Stewart doing what he does best, which is just kind of, saying what we're all thinking, especially as it relates to Trump and Epstein sitting in a tree, Pedophile. And later, we're going to hear from one of Epstein's ex girlfriends who gives a new meaning to the phrase, the one that got away. And of course, we're going to check in with the GOP to see how they're handling the Epstein fallout. Spoiler alert, they're not. So, to excuse me, I'm now going to say something I've always wanted to say. Take it away, Jon Stewart.
Trump now claims the Epstein files were actually written by Obama, Biden,
Sure.
and Comey.
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Is this the biggest cover up in American history or just another Tuesday Trump dump?
Oh, God, I don't know. The whole thing is so abjectly ridiculous. Look, it's we talked about it on the Daily Show last night. Occam's razor. Like the dude, like there's not that many people who are on video dancing with Jeffrey Epstein and with his arm around him and on the plane as the president of the United States. So the idea that, I understand what he's doing. He's doing the whole, like, it's just like Hunter's laptop. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I think abjectly ridiculous sums up this entire situation pretty well. And when it comes to Occam's razor, I can't really think of a simpler explanation than there being a there. In fact, I think the theirs in the there are like multiplying exponentially right now. It's like a viral outbreak of theirs where wherever you look, there's another there. But y'all, this is Donald Trump, this is Teflon Don. Scandals are part of his DNA. So let's see how he's going to wiggle out of this one.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Oh, what she thinks is credible. Okay. Yeah, that's great. That sounds like an airtight system rooted in objectivity and transparency. Way to go, guys. And hey, look, I have no reason not to believe Donald Trump, paragon of integrity that he is, and this idea that Comey and Obama got together and made up the Epstein files just to make Trump look bad. I mean, my goodness, this boils my blood. When are they going to give this guy a break? You know what I think they should do to get back at Comey and Obama? Expose them. And the way they should expose them is by releasing all of the Epstein files, even the ones they don't think are credible. Because if you think about it, what is there really that would make Trump look bad in this situation besides a friendship with Epstein that lasted over a decade? Oh, and all of these photos and the video footage and the things that he said in private and the things that he said publicly, as well as the part where he was found liable for SA. But hey, as long as you memory hole everything he's ever done, I think he's going to be in the clear. So here is one of Epstein's ex-girlfriends, maybe giving, a little bit of credence to the idea that there is indeed a there.
While you were dating Epstein, can you tell us how close these two men were?
They were best friends. I dated Jeffrey for a period of more or less, I think about 4 or 5 months. And the only friend that he would mention every time we saw each other or had a phone conversation was Donald. And he would share a lot of anecdotes. I have plenty of anecdotes. And yeah, they were very close and they were up to no good.
You might even say they started making trouble in the neighborhood of West Palm Beach, Florida. Sorry, that's a millennial reflex, I guess. Now, whenever stories like this come out, there's always a choir of people that are like, there's no way she's telling the truth. This is all made up. And while I could sit here and list a bunch of reasons that I think Stacey Williams is very likely telling the truth, let's just hear her side of it.
Yeah, before I get into the details of what happened, which, obviously I told you guys and I've shared with multiple outlets, the specifics of the assault that happened. I want to point out that I was polygraphed before I did all this by one of the most renowned examiners in the world. Michael Wolff has hundreds of hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein where Jeffrey confirmed to Michael what the two of them did to me long before I came out and told you all of this.
And now is the part where a bunch of people go, hey, polygraph tests aren't reliable, which is largely true. Polygraph tests don't really have the best reputation these days, and most psychologists will tell you that there's very little evidence that they can actually detect lies. However, and this is just my little tepid, lukewarm take here, just because a polygraph test isn't like some magical lie detector doesn't mean it's not valuable in deducing the sincerity of a person's statements. It's not necessarily because of the test itself, but because of the psychology that surrounds it. And so when you have someone like Stacey Williams who goes, all right, I actually stand by what I'm saying so much I'm going to take a polygraph test, and then she actually follows through with it, that might very well suggest that she's at least acting in good faith. And it might also suggest that she would rightfully predict that people wouldn't take her seriously or believe her. So with all of that said, let's put on our own lie detector hats for a moment and listen to this story and just tell me that this does not sound so abjectly ridiculous that it must be true.
So those are two critical data points that you need to have. And now I'll walk you through what happened. I was dating Jeffrey. He was always talking about Donald. It was his bestie and everything. And he was joking about how Donald thought I was hot and Donald thinks I'm this or whatever, you know, wants to talk to you. And he was telling me this as we were taking a walk down Fifth Avenue one day. And he said, let's stop in and see him at his offices. So we went up to his office in Trump Tower. And within a couple of minutes, Donald was outside of his door, and his hands were all over me. They were on my breasts, they were on my butt, they were on, my hips, up and down, while the two of them just kept having a normal conversation.
Yeah, it's gross, incredibly gross and terrible and sad. I believe her 100%. It's gross. These are gross people. And Williams goes on to explain how Trump and Epstein would like have a conversation about her while she was just standing there and Trump was just feeling her up the entire time. So yeah, you can say what you want about polygraph tests, but as Jon Stewart mentioned, there's still Occam's razor. And sometimes if it walks like a Trump and gropes like a Trump and grabs by the whatever like Trump, yeah, it might be the president of the United States. And I think that when you look at all of this together, when you look at this story from Stacey Williams, as well as all the photos and the videos and Trump's history, whether it's his legal history or what he's just said openly into a microphone, he might be the last person on earth that you would want in charge of making this story about child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein go away. I believe the legal term is a conflict of really perverted and potentially illegal interests, but I don't know if that's true or not because I made it up. Okay, but never fear, all right? Because if there is one political party that has always been obsessed with dragging these nefarious ne'er-do-wells out of the darkness and into the light, it is the GOP, folks. So let's see how they're handling the recent push to release the Epstein files.
There are new signs for the president that the backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein saga is very real and not going away. Right now, there are two major developments on Capitol Hill. A vote on a measure to force the White House to release all federal records related to Epstein now has enough Republican support in the House. At least 10 GOP lawmakers have now signed on, meaning that leadership has to hold a vote. And just as that news was breaking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, is telling CNN that he's not going to hold any vote on anything related to Epstein this week. Why does that matter? Well, this week is the last week that Congress is scheduled to be working until September.
Ah, yes, I believe that is chapter 4, verse 11 of The Art of the Deal that says that if people try to hold you accountable, just go on vacation until they forget about it, which in fairness has been a pretty effective strategy in the past, especially when it comes to Trump's base, which does have a reputation for sometimes getting distracted by like bright colors or the jangling of car keys. But that said, I don't think this story is going away, and I don't think Trump supporters are going to let it go. Because while I might not agree with the political views of people who support Trump, I think the one thing they hate, even more than what they think socialism is being lied to and talked down to and made fun of, which in fairness, I just did. But in my defense, I enjoy doing it. But I think one of the reasons the Democratic Party loses so many elections is because when they talk about Trump supporters, they do so in a way that paints them as stupid and morally repugnant. But what's unique about this situation is you have people on the left going, oh, Okay, I guess Trump supporters had a pretty good point here. All right. And then you have people on the right, specifically Trump, talking down to his own base and throwing out the same intelligence insulting excuses that they probably thought the Democrats had a monopoly on. So if I was a Trump supporter, I would be like pretty upset right now, but I'm not. So instead, I just think the whole thing is, as Jon Stewart said, abjectly ridiculous. What's ridiculous is not the abuse that was perpetrated by Epstein, nor is a story like Stacey Williams ridiculous. What's ridiculous, I think, is how spectacularly they are failing at getting this story to go away. It's like a playbook of what not to do. And I think that if there's one group that right now is really going to drain the swamp, it's not going to be Republicans and it's not going to be Democrats because they're both the swamp. It's going to be Trump's own supporters who pursue this truth relentlessly, even after their senators or whatever come back from, vacation. But I guess that means I have to end this on maybe a statement that I've never said before. So here it goes. Godspeed, Trump supporters. We're counting on you. That actually felt good. That felt good and true. It did feel, I'll take a polygraph test. I really will.